I would be curious to know what do the fans think. Are they on our side because we seem to be on the same page on this? Are they if you're rooting for NASCAR, I want to know why you're rooting for NASCAR. Like if you're on the side of the France family, tell me why. I'm genuinely curious because I don't see how a fan could actually be on their side.
The following is a production of the Garage Area.
All right, welcome into the garage area. This is one of our rare off-season shows, but we felt like it was important to kind of um, touch on some of the topics that are happening right now. This particular one uh, that we're going to do tonight, I wanted to do a little while back, um, but just my own schedule didn't work out with that. So unfortunately, we have to do it during the week of the trial, one of the most monumental moments in what I think is going to be NASCAR's history, depending on how this antitrust lawsuit turns out. Very, very eager, anxious to see what the result is there. What what are your thoughts as a whole on the lawsuit? Like, are you rooting for NASCAR? Are you rooting for the teams? Are you rooting for this to all go away? Like, what are your thoughts?
Um, I I feel like I'm more on the team side, especially when I see some of these texts and stuff come out. What NASCAR has um said about bringing down other series and other people and not allowing drivers to go do this or that. The biggest topic was the SRX series, which I got to go and enjoy and watch Chase Elliott win at Sharon Speedway on the dirt track, and just kind of watching NASCAR text about trying to find ways to stop it and stop their drivers from going racing it, just kind of put me in a bad mood. It was like one of the few things I personally get to go to. I haven't had a chance to go to an actual NASCAR race and watch my favorite driver race. And, the Sharon was a couple hours away. I got down to watch Chase Elliott win, allow some of these stars to go out and do other things and get more fan engagement. And I don't know if that's necessarily what this case is fully about, but it kind of put a bad taste in my mouth with NASCAR. It kind of shows their monopolistic ruling and stuff, just trying to stomp out anything that might threaten their series.
Yeah. I'm really curious to know what the fans think as a whole. I hope they tell us. I hope they light up the comments and tell us what they're rooting for the outcome here. You said that you're not on the side of NASCAR because of the way that they've behaved. I am definitely not on the side of NASCAR. I don't like Denny Hamlin. I do like Michael Jordan, but I'm not really like a big basketball fan anyways, as far as the NBA goes. Um, and I don't really have an attachment to either one of them. I don't have any attachment to Front Row Motorsports. I just it just is a whole NASCAR having all the cards, being the dominating power, to be a monopoly. I mean, that is the term that they're using. Um, is in fact they've already found that out that they are a monopoly. Like that's already been ruled in court, and I don't have anything positive to say toward the sanctioning body. Don't like any of them. I don't like Jim France. I don't like Steve O'Donnell, Steve Phelps, Mike Helton. I don't really have a problem with. Be curious to know what his role is and all of this stuff. Anyways, I just there's no part of this that I like, and I would be curious to know what do the fans think. Are they on our side because we seem to be on the same page on this? Are they if you're rooting for NASCAR, I want to know why you're rooting for NASCAR. Like if you're on the side of the France family, tell me why. I'm genuinely curious because I don't see how a fan could actually be on their side. I don't get that. It seems like they're taking a huge chunk of the pie and leaving very little for the people that actually put on the show. And I think Denny Hamlin even said as much in court today. So, uh, very curious to see how that all turns out.
I guess to more to what I was thinking, I only said kind of a little bit of why I was more rooting for the team side. It's just what's going to come out at the end of this. Are we going to lose NASCAR as a whole, lose teams out of this and whatnot? Is like how kind of almost a fear we might lose the sport in total, that things get shaken around so much, or lose teams lose charters and then exit the sport, and it shakes everything up and stuff. So this could go down to the wire of what really happens.
Do you think that you're really gonna lose the sport of NASCAR? Or do you think you're gonna lose stock car racing?
Not stock car racing in itself, I guess. Or something will come up and
Okay.
replace it per se, I guess, or there will be some form of it. I don't know. Just kind of not knowing what will be of it is kind of a anxious feeling.
Yeah. We'll get into this in our whole podcast tonight, talking about the problems that we see NASCAR facing as a whole. But my concern is that there's such a decline in car culture in America that there's less incentive for manufacturers to be very involved in the sport. And I think that's my only concern for seeing stock car racing, like true stock car racing, continue. Not that we have true stock car racing now, but that's my only real concern with this. I think that, you know, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, William Byron, Chase Elliott, those guys are going to race something moving forward. Like that's what they do. They're racers. So I'm not concerned about having the opportunity to watch those guys race. It's just what form will that be in? Um, I think that NASCAR is too big to lose it altogether, but I think that we're going to have to ride out some low years if NASCAR doesn't pull through in this case, which is what I'm rooting for. And I'm okay with that as long as we get to some betterment because we're already in the low years. I mean, the way that the playoffs work, the way that this sport works as a whole, the type of car that we have. I mean, just all of that. It would be hard to look at this and say, oh, you know, we're not already in the recession, so to speak, of NASCAR. Would you say that NASCAR is better now than it was 15 years ago?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so you see a very clear advantage to the past than now.
Yeah.
And is that the way that you feel about the sport, or do you think that's the quality of racing?
Um, Quality of racing, the cars, the system, the I I don't know what else. It just feels like even the TV deals or even the broadcasting itself just feels like it's died off. Um, I just there's a whole bunch of things that have just kind of compiled together the last 15 years, and I don't know the I just I kind of lost my train of thought, but it just feels like it just last 15 years has just been a downfall, especially when they started taking horsepower out of the cars and whatnot and this and stuff and trying to they say they're trying to persuade other manufacturers to come in and race in the sport and stuff, and I think they're ruining the product of the sport trying to gain other manufacturers and revenues.
Do you have a problem with other manufacturers coming in?
I do not have a problem with other manufacturers. I mean, I hated Toyota when they came in, but I was a Toyota hater. Period. I think everybody has that. Ford guys hate Chevys, Chevy guys hate Fords, which is odd because I was a Ford guy growing up rooting for Jeff Gordon, but that's neither here nor there.
That is good.
Um, but I feel like if the manufacturers want to come in, they need to come into the rules that NASCAR has that puts on the best product.
You come to play in our sandbox. You don't tell us how to play in our sandbox.
Yeah, that's what Toyota did when they came in. They had to design, I believe, a single cam V8 engine that would work under NASCAR rules. I think there was something they were trying to bring in these dual overhead cam heads and stuff to their V8s and stuff when Ford and Chevys had their standard, I believe, small block Chevys or small block Ford and Chevy engines. So that's kind of what Toyota had to redesign their engine and their thinking in that to bring themselves into the sport. And I think if anyone else wants to do that, they need to do that way.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you there. Okay, um, let's get right into it. Let's just start right off the top with problems that we have as fans with NASCAR. Both agree that it was better 15 years ago. I would say 10 years ago, even it was better. That I think 10 years ago is probably the tail end of the quality racing that I enjoyed. Um, and really, since, like you said, they knocked out the horsepower of the cars, um, you've seen more aerodynamic dependency be a factor. All of that, I think, has been detrimental. I think NASCAR should hit themselves with actions detrimental to stock car racing. They should that should be how this court ruling goes at the very end because they're talking about paying damages back to the teams. I think that it should be NASCAR's penalized with actions detrimental to stock car racing, and that the fine is whatever the difference that the teams are asking for in court. Seems like a great plan.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, so I have a list of topics, and I assume that you probably didn't look at my topics, and you're just waiting for me to go through
I've looked
them.
through them, yeah.
And
So
have you?
I'm
Okay.
not that unprepared.
Well, I wasn't accusing you of being unprepared. It's just like, yeah, I'll say whatever I'll work off of whatever the talking points are. Um, we had plans to have a whole different show about this, and I think that we still should. So I just want to skim over this very lightly, the very first point. Um, the first problem with NASCAR is the point system. Uh, just give me some brief thoughts on what you do, what you don't like about the point system, and what you would change. Just hit me with the highlights. We'll do a whole separate show about this.
Well, I guess first of all, I prefer a full year format period with obviously certain ways to earn points. Maybe not just a straight structure of points that they had in the 90s, but maybe other incentives to earn points. But currently, what we do have right now, definitely a one race to decide a championship where a caution with 3 laps to go changes the whole championship picture, you know. Um, Even like the elimination throughout the playoffs and stuff like that, to me, that's just not stick and ball sports is not motorsports. Playoffs and eliminations, I think, are um, just not how racing should be determined. A champion should be determined. Considering I this year they had a format in supercars of a playoff system that like the guy who had the dominant year had engine issues the last race and lost a championship. And there's a lot of the same comments that NASCAR gets at the end of the year when someone who wins a championship that probably doesn't deserve it, gets the undeserving, talking points and stuff. So, um, I feel like like the original 10 race chase is far better than what we have now, but that's just kind of my issues with the points format is that final race and elimination that just one race in any of those rounds could eliminate you from a full body of the work throughout the season.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. With at least what you said about the playoffs. The playoffs, both the term and the format needs to go away. I don't like the term playoffs because we don't play anything in NASCAR. We race. Um, and the like you said, the idea of eliminations, a one race championship, all of that is dumb to me. Um, the short version of my idea would be you would earn a tremendous amount of points for winning a race. I think that a win shouldn't lock you into the chase. But I should start by saying I am for a chase format. I like that the te last 10 races you reset and go again, um, because I think that there's some tracks over the summer that are on the schedule that are like I don't want to call them irrelevant, but like they're if you had some bad races there, I don't think that should necessarily count against you competing for a championship, if that makes any kind of sense. Like I said, we'll get into this deeper in a separate show, but I am for a 10 race chase, a chase for the cup. I like that terminology. And I think that wins should pay a tremendous amount. They're not automatic bids into the postseason. They're not something that, the winning you're in is a dumb thing. Get rid of that. It's the fact that winning races boosts you gives you so many points that is your advantage to make that final cut of the 10. You would cut it off at the top 10 in points. The whole bubble thing that they talk about, who's going to get in, is just who can get into 10th in points. That's the battle. Um, and you take 10 drivers over 10 races. I didn't like the 12 driver chase, didn't like the 16 driver chase. 10 races, 10 drivers, that's it. And like I said, tremendous amount of points for wins. And when you reset the points for the chase, that's how you are awarded your points. I think that you should get postseason points um, for winning the regular season championship. If you are the points leader at the end of the 26th race, that is a big bonus point that starts you into the chase. If you've won, 4 or 5 races, whatever it is, that's a tremendous amount of points to start you into the chase. So you still have a significant advantage starting out, but they don't keep resetting. There are no rounds. It's look, if you've got a 200 point lead, well, you've got 10 races to maintain that lead, or somebody's got that amount of time to catch you. Again, we'll go into more detail on that in a whole separate scenario. But yes, we both agree that the point system needs change. That's point number one in our problems with NASCAR. Problem number two is the car as a whole. I don't I don't like 5 gears. I don't like the lower gear ratios and more gears. I don't like the underbody downforce. Get rid of that altogether. I don't like the center wheel lug. Give me 5 lugs. It doesn't even necessarily have to be five, but I like the 5 lug system. There was nothing wrong with that. I don't want to see as much downforce in the car. Um, and this is a minor thing. Put the numbers back where they go.
Yeah, I for the as far as the car goes, definitely I think horsepower solves a lot of those issues. Um, the shifting gears and stuff like that, it doesn't. I think once you get more horsepower, and no matter what gear you have the car in, if you're able to spin the tires, I think that would just kind of easily improve things. And the underbody
But
downforce.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but just I don't want to see guys downshifting in the corner at an oval.
Yeah,
I don't want to see guys going to um, Texas or someplace like that and popping it down a gear to get a little extra speed in the corner, or Martinsville or Phoenix or somewhere like that. Like your final gear is where you run.
yeah, I know what you're saying, but I don't know if it bothers me that much. Well, I think the being able to gear down is because these cars have so much grip with the downforce and stuff they have. Is if they had less grip and more horsepower and or less less downforce and stuff whatnot, I don't think the shifting is going to make these guys as shift down and boost off the corners as well as it would be if they have the current downforce. But um, numbers they don't bother me too much. I mean, I like there's like going to the dirt track. I see a bunch of different styles of guys for how they run their numbers and stuff. One guy with a modified, he has like a huge 92 that kind of covers the back of his car. I think the car looks pretty good. So I think it's how I mean, but I don't think anybody's ever going to go to that extent. But other than that, I don't think that bothers me too much.
Do you have any die-cast cars sitting near you?
Um, yeah, I got one.
What is it, a next gen car or is it an older car?
It's a Jeff Gordon Looney Tune car.
Okay, so it's a Gen 4 car.
Yeah.
Yeah. So look at that car. Look at a next gen car. Which one is more aesthetically pleasing?
Um, I mean, I like the Gen 4 cars, but
Yeah,
but
and that should be the case. Like I think anybody would look at the Gen 4 car and go, that's a better looking race car than the next gen.
yeah, I mean, a lot of it's all in the design and paint schemes and stuff. I think there's some decent looking paint schemes within the forward number, but yeah, I definitely prefer it backwards. But for the most part, I wish teams could do whatever they wanted with their numbers and not be a strict rule and let them have more openness with their designs.
Yeah, I just say just keep it between the wheel wells and I'm great. All right, I was frozen there for a second, but I'm back now. We were talking about the car. I think ultimately all I want out of a car is something you can drive up behind with a lot of power. Like you put the throttle down, you've got to be careful. It's not just an automatic, yeah, I'm going to have grip when I get back to the throttle. And when you drive up behind another driver, you have the opportunity to take away the slight amount of downforce that they have in order to allow them to be over that line that they think that they're in control of and slip out of your way, trying to gather that car back up. And you have the opportunity to go by them with more power that way. I like the idea of a fast car driving through the field and not having to worry about the aerodynamics of the car in front of them. I like that that guy has the opportunity to be on offense rather than have to worry about who's laying dirty air on his nose. Dirty air is a term I never want to hear in as significant a context as it is now. With this fan, fantasy race car that I've got in my head. Honestly, it's the Gen 4 car. Like, I don't even think that I'm being nostalgic about it. I think it just literally was better. And that's what I want back. I think that's ultimately it. Even the whatever Gen 6 car, whatever they had after the COT before they reduced the horsepower, I wasn't upset about that either. I thought that that was a fine race car as well.
Yeah, well, the Xfinity cars are essentially the Gen 6 car, and they put on a far better show than what these Cups cars are doing right now. So,
I agree with that, but do you think that they put on a better show than the Gen 4s did?
um, I would say no. Just, just even just listening to them Gen 4 cars screaming around the track, it was just incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, even the COT cars and from like into Gen 5 and 6 and whatnot, they had you could hear them better, and the way they ripped around the track was impressive too. So I still think the Gen 4 car is probably that's the car that NASCAR blew up on. I mean,
Yes.
late 90s, early 2000s and stuff right now. I mean, the sport was thriving. Then they went to the car of tomorrow, the blocks and stuff, and I think that may have killed things right there, just the look of the car even, I don't know. But that just kind of feels like the start of the downfall. Um but that's I don't know, maybe just being too nostalgic about it, but those are the cars I love the most.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it is nostalgia though. I do truly think that it was just better racing and fans that aren't idiots can look at that and say, I enjoyed watching the sport when there was better racing. I don't, it's not WWE. I don't care about the entertaining storylines. Just let me see a good race. Like, I was a Matt Kenseth fan. Matt Kenseth didn't win a ton of races in a Gen 4 race car. Um, but if you watched a race where Ryan Newman was out there dominating the race, or whoever, like there was other things that you were watching throughout the course of the race. Like you just wanted to see good racing. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they all end side by side at the line. It just means that the fast cars go fast. That's all I care about. I want to see the fast cars go fast. I don't want to see William Byron hold the lead for 387 laps and then get, you know, have a bad pit stop and he finishes the race fourth because he can't pass anybody. I mean, that's actually okay with me because I don't want to see Byron win, but I don't want to see something like that take place on the racetrack. I want to see a guy be out front because he has the fastest car, and if he gets put in traffic, he has the opportunity to drive back to the lead without any real hindrance, just his own ability to navigate traffic. That's it. And I I feel like people that watched racing for 20 years, like you and I have, know what I'm talking about. But I feel like people that just picked up the sport in the last 5 years are like, what do you even mean? That doesn't even make sense. Like I've seen Kyle Larson drive back through the field. No, you haven't. Not like I watched, Dale Jr. and Mark Martin and some of these other guys do it. You haven't seen the same thing that I've seen that way. If you'd seen it, you'd know what I'm talking about. And I think that's where my frustration lies there with this car. Next point. We touched on it a little bit on our season finale or maybe our season recap show. Um, Overtime. First of all, don't call it overtime. The race is not timed. It has laps. You can call it bonus laps, you can call it extra laps, you just call it a green, white, checkered finish. Actually, that wouldn't work for my idea because I don't think it should be a green, white, checkered anyways. Um, back in the day, there was a period of time when they first introduced uh, the not racing back to the yellow line, where they would red flag the race. and they kind of went away from that. If it was under 20 laps, maybe I can't remember what the threshold was. Um, I don't like that necessarily. I don't want to see them stop the race, let the cars sit still on the racetrack, so that they can clean up the caution and then race out the last 7, 5, 3 laps, whatever it is. I don't like that. I'm okay with them running around under yellow. Um, but I do think that this should be 5 laps instead of a green, white, checkered. And you probably have to do something different at the plate races. Maybe it's just you don't, and you just get what you get. But I'm good with one attempt. I don't want to see something stupid. Um, if a late race battle is shaping up, or it's going to be if the second place guy's running down the leader and a caution comes out, I don't want to see the race run out under yellow. Like you run the last 3 laps under yellow because a caution came out, and too bad, so sad. The guy in second doesn't have an opportunity to catch him. I want to see a restart. I want to see, you know, I want to see the race play out. I don't want to see it be stopped right there. But I want to see 5 laps. I don't want to see just a simple green, white, checkered. And you get one shot at it, especially at these plate races. If these guys are going to keep wrecking each other every single lap, I don't want to see them line back up and go again, line back up and go again. I think the only caveat would be the attempt only counts if you complete one full lap. So if you have a wreck within the first lap, then you do re-rack and go again. But I want to see 5 laps, and don't call it overtime. Just call it, I don't know what you'd call it. We can brainstorm that. The name of it, I'm less concerned about. But what do you think about that compared to our current overtime rules?
Yeah. I feel torn on this. Like right now, I feel like it's I see people right. Well, this is a 500-mile race, and now we're going over 500 miles for overtime, this and that. So, like Danny Hamlin led at the whatever the race ending mark was at Phoenix. So he was the winner at the proposed ending
Distance,
point
yeah.
of the race, I guess you would say, distance. So um, to me, I mean, that's what they ran for the longest time, and the sport thrived on it. Um, so to me, I don't mind your idea either. It gives 5 laps, gives like a proper spread things out and let the faster cars get to where they can go the best they can. Obviously, I think there's still going to be some chaos involved. Everyone's pushing harder with 5 laps to go on a restart. But that gives sometimes 2 laps isn't enough time to get a proper car the the um the time it needs to get to where it needs to go. But um to me, those are probably maybe the two best options: either back to standard no overtime, or maybe your 5 lap suggestion.
Yeah. Um, let me ask you this. Do you have a problem with the current overtime rules?
Um, Not necessarily. I just kind of, other than it, just kind of, I feel like we're talking about it because of what happened with Hamlin. Um, you know,
That's not why I'm talking about it, but
okay,
you can go ahead.
but it just kind of it changed the race, and the fact that it pretty much chose, or it chose the champion of the race at just 2 laps at the end of the season. Um, the fact that there is unlimited overtimes, I feel like they got to put a stop to that, because that kind of created a lot of mess there. Was it Nashville where Logano won on fuel strategy, or was
That
it?
wasn't a problem.
Well,
Yes, you're right. I think it
yeah.
was Nashville.
But I feel like there's got to be, you got to put it back to 2 or 3 at the most tries at it. Then, uh, but I want to see a race run finish under green, but at the same point, you don't want to cause enough chaos that throws in some undeserving driver because everyone was being an idiot at the end on a restart trying to and crash each other. So I just got to try to find the balance between the two.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like my 5 lap one attempt as long as you complete one lap proposal here is there is no unlimited attempts, so you know exactly what the well, for the most part, you know exactly what the number of is that you're trying to hit for fuel. So if you're close on fuel, um, you have to either decide if you're going to allow for the 5 lap overtime or extra bonus laps, whatever you want to say, or if you just want to calculate your fuel to the scheduled distance. But there's not a lot of, well, we could have a restart. Well, we could have several restarts. Like, it's either going to be a restart with 5 to go or that's it. Um, I like that more than the unlimited attempts for sure. Speaking of restarts, first of all, I want to say the overtime thing isn't necessarily a big problem with NASCAR. This is just like it's an improvement that I would make if I were in charge, I guess. It's not like, oh, overtime restarts are killing the sport. I'm not saying that. Um, but speaking of restarts in general, again, double file restarts I don't think are killing the sport. Um, the old school single file with the lapped cars to the inside, I didn't love that. I'm okay with I guess that's one of the things that I'm almost more okay with the double file restarts than I was the single file with the lap cars to the inside. I'm actually that's one of the things that has changed that I'm more okay with. But the improvement to that I would make is I would like to see Delaware style restarts like they have in dirt racing. I want to see the leader out front. He can choose his line, he can be in the middle, he can do whatever he wants. He should have an advantage. He fires first. Everybody's double file behind him. What do you think of that?
That's I think I said something about this last year or 2 years ago. Whenever the debacle or de, whatever happened there between Blaney and Larson at Indianapolis, when Brad Keselowski pulled off running out of fuel on a
Oh
overtime,
yeah. Yep.
and Brad Keselowski got to choose on the inside. So Blaney, who was the leader on his strategy, chose the outside. And Larson, who then chose the inside behind him, Larson got to move up a lane, then had the preferred lane, being a
Yep.
third place driver. And that's kind of where I thought, well, if there was a Delaware restart, let's say that would have put Brad on the front row and then Larson and Blaney in the second row. Well, Brad pulls off, and then Blaney's the second place driver, sees the control car. He can move up his lane. Obviously, the outside lane would still have an advantage, but the next um, deserving driver in the lineup gets his start. You know, Larson
Now has the
probably,
advantage.
yeah, Larson still has his inside line, but Blaney doesn't lose his advantage to Larson anymore.
Yeah. I think it cleans up scenarios like that for sure. I think it cleans up the whole um well who got to the line first or who fired first or any of that. Like this guy's the leader. He's going first. Like he's the first guy to the restart zone. Um from there on back, I don't care if the third place guy fires before the second place guy. The only one I care about is the leader. So I think that solves a lot of issues. Um, again, with the double file restarts, I'm okay with the choose behind that. I'm okay with you get to choose top or bottom lane from second on the 40th. But I do think the leader should get a single position out front of the rest of them. Again, this isn't something that's killing the sport, just an improvement that I would make. The other thing that I have here is races should start at 12 p.m. Eastern. The green flag should drop at 12 p.m. Eastern, especially in the fall. I think that it's advantageous to be on TV before football kicks off. I don't want to see all kinds of pre-race shows coming on at 12, start them at 11, start them at 10:30. I don't care when you start them, but I want to see the green flag in the air at 12 or 12:05 or 12:15 at the latest. But let me see the green flag falling early, early, early in the afternoon, and especially in the fall, I think it's an advantage to have while the NFL is doing all their pregame stuff. Here's something. Here's the action happening right now, before any of these other games kick off. Let me see racing, and if it's good racing, guess what I'm going to do while my favorite team is playing? I'm going to keep an eye on this game because everybody's at least got a smartphone. Everybody's got a laptop. Everybody, like, if you want to watch two things at once in 2025, you can do that. It's not a problem. And a lot of people, especially if they're sports fans, they have multiple TVs anyways. Because college football, you're watching more than one game. NFL, you're watching more than one game. March Madness, you might be watching four games at a time, you know? So it's not like it's wildly unrealistic to be watching more than one sport at the time. And I don't think that, if you're just looking to spend the afternoon watching something that's sports related, you turn on the football game at 1 o'clock and the race doesn't start till 3:05. Who cares? Like, you're not focused on that. You're into the game. Get the race on first so that people have an opportunity to watch it and get hooked on it because the race itself is probably going to take longer than the football game. So I think that it's important to be on at that time, to be on um, earlier than they are. I don't care what the ratings say. I don't care what the rest of this stuff says. Put me on at 12 noon Sunday. And I want to see at least a half a dozen night races that start at, 7 o'clock Saturday night as well. And that doesn't include our Memorial Day and Labor Day weekend races that are Sunday nights. I want those to stay at those times anyways. Uh, like I said, I'd like to see a half a dozen night races. But if you're going to race on Sunday afternoon, I want to see that happen. Green flag between 12 and 12:15, no later than that.
Yeah, I can't find anything wrong with that. I definitely prefer earlier starts than what we got. It just kind of feels like kind of wastes a day away after you like starting something at 3 and watching it or whatever. Just kind of feels like it wastes half of your evening at that point too. So um, it just yeah,
Yeah,
I prefer an earlier start. So, but
it's an awkward time of day because it's not like, you're gonna get lunch and then watch the football game. Like, you're gonna be eating your lunch while you're watching the football game on a Sunday. You do the same thing with a race. And if the race is going through supper time, like, you're not, yeah, you're if it started at that time, if it started at 6:30, 7 o'clock, well, then you would plan a meal before that, before the race started as well. But like you just said, if it goes through the meal time, it's just a distraction.
yeah, I completely agree with anything you said. So
I like hearing that. Uh, in association with that same point, I want to see putting the majority of the races on a network, a major network, an NBC or an ABC in the fall, and all of the crown jewel races should be on a major network. So the Daytona 500 needs to be on Fox, NBC, CBS, one of the main networks. Uh, the Bristol Night Race, the same thing. The Talladega race, same thing. Uh, the the Southern 500, the same thing. The Indy 500, not the Indy 500, the Brickyard 400, same thing. Like, I want to see all of those crown jewel events, the Coke 600, all of those on network TV. If we're going to call them crown jewels, then you need to put them in front of people's faces. Make them the biggest thing. And I don't have a problem with Prime's coverage of races. I don't have a problem with the streaming side of things because I think Prime did a great job. I think they did the best job all year of covering races. But when it comes to the crown jewel events, it needs to be on major networks, not because they do a better job at calling the race, not because they do a better job with production, because it puts more eyes on the biggest sport in that moment. You have the biggest races in your sport in those moments. And I think that that is crucial. Even if somebody has a Prime subscription already, you're not scrolling Prime on a Sunday afternoon or a Saturday night going, "Oh, what's the live sporting event that I want to watch right now?" Like, you're on your regular network TV. So put the race on regular network TV. And I think that because NBC doesn't have anything throughout the day in football season other than the Sunday night football game, make NBC a primary in the fall network that you put races on. Um, or ABC. ABC is not carrying any sports during uh, the fall. Like, put them on ABC, which I think they're partnered with ESPN, and ESPN's kind of gone away with NASCAR coverage altogether, including this trial. Like, I can't, not to get back to that, but like, it seems wild that this isn't getting more national news coverage than it does.
Yeah, I don't. I feel like I just live on the Twitter world, and that's where I get all my news. So I don't really pay enough attention to. I don't really watch ESPN or anything like that to look for that kind of stuff. So I guess I probably wouldn't know, but yeah, I'm not sure what coverage is really being put out there.
Well, how do you feel about the network thing, though?
Um, you say that again?
How do you feel about what I said about the networks, though?
Yeah,
Being,
I mean, obviously, I think more races on national networks are better than anything that's on their secondary, like whether on cable or anything you have to subscribe to or things like that. I think anything that's free is better.
yeah, that spoken like a true white, I'll tell you that. That's definitely our family's motto. It's better if it's free. Uh, one of the notes that I had here that I should have discussed when we were talking about the actual race car itself is when I watch older races, this is something that I thought was nostalgic, that the cars just looked better back in the day. But I think a lot of that is truly related to the cars being painted rather than being wrapped. I understand how convenient the wrap is. And this isn't like something that NASCAR could regulate, but I'd rather see painted race cars than wrapped race cars. I think it looks better in the sunlight. It looks better under the lights. And I think that the look of the car truly does matter, especially to fans. It's something that I just think it's a bigger deal than people really are willing to admit. That the fact that the car looks good is a factor in how much you're paying attention to that car. Uh, I struggle to pick out paint schemes on a weekly basis. That's a good looking car. I'm not saying that they never happen. Ryan Blaney's Advance Auto paint scheme is a good looking scheme. Uh, there's probably others that come to mind. I actually saw today Martin Truex's Bass Pro Shop scheme that he raced in the Daytona 500. That was a good looking car. There are good looking paint schemes out there, but I don't feel like they pop up as much as they used to. Like when I was a kid, when your driver was running an alternate scheme, it was like, oh, that's a good looking paint scheme. Well, you know it with the Jeff Gordon Pepsi scheme. Like anytime he ran that, you were like, that's an awesome looking car. And Matt Kenseth, when he ran the USG Sheetrock car, I was like, that's an awesome looking car. Or the Carhartt car, or something like that. Jimmy Johnson has got some good looking red, white, and blue low schemes that he raced in the Coke 600s. I mean, that just is. Um, there's just things that I feel like it was easier to pick out good paint schemes previously than there is now.
Yeah, I just even the iconic Jeff Gordon car with the flames. I just feel like anytime they put the flames on William Byron's car now, they just don't pop the same. Just I don't know. It just especially under the lights, you see that the blue and red flames it just felt like it popped under the lights at the racetrack and stuff. And I just feel like seeing anytime William Byron runs anything close to that with some type of flame, or maybe it's the scheme itself, but it just even under the lights, it just feels dull. And I don't know if it happens with all the cars and things and whatnot, but I definitely see a difference.
You're right that it's definitely duller. It doesn't look this, it looks more matte than it does glossy. And I think that that's an issue. But you know, Jeff Gordon did phenomenal things with two separate paint schemes. It's the same sponsor, the DuPont Rainbow car and the Flame DuPont scheme were both incredible looking race cars. The thing with the Flame scheme is that blue paint that not the flame, but the back half of the car, the blue had a metallic flake in that paint, and that's what made it look good. That's why the flames looked as good as they did. That I mean, that's an iconic paint scheme. That is a good looking car. I hate to admit it, I'm not a Jeff Gordon fan at all. Can't stand the guy, both as a driver and as a team owner, whatever he does now. Um, but that was a good looking car, and that had a lot to do with the actual paint, not with some stupid piece of plastic that they wrapped over it. My next thing here is I don't want to encourage drivers to fight, but I think that fighting shouldn't be penalized. And after two punches are thrown, I think that at that point you can break it up. The pit crew, they can fight with each other all they want, but don't touch a driver. If you touch a driver, that you're automatically suspended. That's my opinion. But I think as far as guys fighting in general, I'm not opposed to it. In fact, I wouldn't say I encourage it. But if one driver roughs another one up, if they get into them, like the Sammy Smith Taylor Gray situation, like that's probably not in their personalities, but that there should be a fight after something like that, like what took place at Martinsville in the spring. Um, the Who was it? It was Cole Custer and John Hunter Nemechek at that road course. Can't think of it. In the truck series. They wrecked each other underneath the flag stand.
Yeah,
Uh,
and definitely was Cole Custer was the guy who tackled the other guy, but I don't know why I'm not thinking of John Hunter Nemechek, but that you could be right.
but either way, I guess Custer did kind of fight him, but that should be something that was a non-issue. The Noah Gregson Ross Chastain thing, uh, Chastain, or rather Gregson should have had the opportunity to throw a second punch. And to be fair, Ross should have punched him for having that haircut, regardless of what happened on the racetrack. Uh, but things like that, I think, you don't have to encourage the fighting, but it definitely shouldn't be penalized. Not like it is. The Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Kyle Busch thing should have never been a penalty. Um, who else got a heavy fine for fighting? Do you remember?
Hmm.
Did we see one recently?
I feel like something happened after the Ricky incident,
Yeah,
and it's
it's not coming to mind
yeah.
because it doesn't happen as often anymore. Um, when Jeff Burton wrecked Jeff Gordon at Atlanta, I think it was, and then Gordon went down there and just started whipping up on Burton. Uh, no, like there should have been nothing that came of that as far as a penalty from NASCAR. I don't think that there was. Maybe there was. I don't know.
I
But
don't remember there being anything.
you remember Jeff Gordon pushing Matt Kenseth at Bristol in '06,
Yeah,
and he got fined 10 grand for that?
is that what happened? I know. I
Yeah.
remember he was on some type of probation of some kind. That if anything happened again, that there could be more. But I couldn't remember the exact what all
If
happened.
if you're out of the race car and you're pushing somebody else around, no, there should be no issue with that. Gordon should have never been fined for pushing Matt. Um, if you start, using your race car as a weapon, now I got a problem. If you're doing something on the racetrack, especially after the checkered flag or under yellow or something like that, yeah, I got a problem with you using your car as a weapon. But in any other context, if both drivers are out of the car and they want to fight, let them fight. Don't care.
Um, yeah, I don't have much of an opinion. I really didn't feel like there was the only penalty I'm remembering now is the Stenhouse one. So, um, but I don't know if it's just because he sat there and waited for it or whatnot. But I just I feel like I just feel like there hasn't been as much of an issue as maybe other things that have come across my mind. I don't know.
Are you pro fighting or against it?
Um, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, it's entertaining, that's for sure.
Yeah. Um, I think that I have on here too, no suspension for loose wheels. You should get the two lap penalty only. I think that if this is part of the problem that NASCAR created with this stupid single lug. If you have a five lug nut stud or five stud wheel, whatever you want to say, and you've got a loose wheel, I think that should be an in race two lap penalty. The crew member doesn't get suspended. That handle that inside the team. I don't think that has anything to do with NASCAR dictating who can show up and change tires next week. I think that that's dumb. It should be an in-race penalty, two laps. If you had a wheel come loose on the racetrack, and you brought out a yellow because you didn't do your job well, that affected that race, that moment in the race. You get penalized, and that's it. It's over.
Yeah, I can get behind that. I mean, it's I just know they're trying to force teams into taking their time and putting the tires on for safety issues, but I also just hate the tire system as itself. I prefer the old 15-inch wheels with the bigger sidewall tires and 5 lugs, but I think they went to the single lug because of the way they designed the tire with the low sidewalls and wider tires. So, um,
Well, then give me the old tire back.
yeah,
Um, this is kind of I talked about this in the point standing thing I have in the past, but I think that your average running position in a race should matter. But what's the formula for how they qualify now? Tell me exactly what the formula is. I want to know in detail exactly how they determine that.
well, in detail, I can't do that, but I know it involves finishing position points and I think your fastest lap in a race or something like that. Or
And it's some kind of math formula. Nobody knows everything that goes into it.
yeah,
Okay. Here's my solution to this. The order in which you qualify next week is determined by your average running position in the previous race and no other factors in the formula. If you were, if you were Denny Hamlin and you led 359 of 400 laps, your average position was first, or, you were the highest average running position of the race, then you qualify last, or whatever the advantage is. If it's more of an advantage to qualify first or last, whichever one, you get that option, not that option, but whatever it is, that's how you get rolled out there.
yeah, I think for the most part it's usually most advantageous to be the last one out to qualify. But
So Cody Ware and Catherine Legg are going to go out first, and Denny Hamlin going to go out last in my scenario.
yeah,
What
if
do you think
that's
of that?
um for the most part, I think that usually happens anyways. The way the point standings and stuff plays out, anyways. I don't. That's not too big of an issue how they qualify for me. Either way they do it.
But I don't like complication in the sport. Like I
Yeah,
said, I've been watching NASCAR races for 20 years, and I don't know how the qualifying works. Like I can't tell you how it works. It's that complicated. I could tell you that if I turned on TV and I see him going out and qualifying, and I'm like, I wonder where Joey qualifies this week, or where his what time he's going to come out on the racetrack. I could go, okay, last week he ran 15th, so he's probably already qualified or he's coming up soon because they're going to get uh, those mid-pack cars out here shortly. Whatever the case is. I don't want to go, wonder what the order is and how they determine that. I know that, this is where my driver ran last week. This is the position they're going to go out to qualify this week. I think that also is an incentive. It shouldn't be because it should be easier to pass. But if it's remained as difficult to pass, it should be an incentive to run better in the race also. Because if your qualifying position mattered that much, then you'd be in a position where you'd want to run better, hence having a better qualifying spot next week.
yeah. I mean, obviously your finishing position right now does have an effect on your qualifying position, but it's not the only factor. But for me, I could care less either way.
Yeah. Okay. Again, that's not a huge deal for me. I think it's just part of simplifying things. All right. This one is like not a huge issue for me. I just think it would be a beneficial thing. Um, Kyle Larson races in a bunch of different series, and I think that races like the old Prelude to the Dream, where those guys would get in a dirt late model at Eldora, where you put their primary paint scheme on a dirt modified, and you had all of these guys, all of these cup drivers in the same race against one another, um, on a totally different type of racing skill set, I think was beneficial, and I think that that would be interesting to see that happen more often. Put them in, you know, it's an issue because of how dangerous some of these other series are. Uh, but I'd like to see them in, wing sprint cars. I'd like to see them in dirt modifieds. I'd like to see them in uh, things that you would see run at your local short track. And I'd like to see them compete against each other at these other levels, or just coming to racetracks near you, whatever the case is, but with their primary sponsor that they have in the Cup Series. And I think that NASCAR, the sanctioning body, should kick them some money to do that, to go through all that trouble. I would like to see something like that take place. I think it exposes NASCAR to the people that are already interested in racing at the local level and gives, just like you were saying with SRX, gives people an opportunity to go see their driver at the local level or see a group of drivers um, and have them in something that's recognizable. And I think that that would be beneficial to getting more eyes on the sport, getting more people interested in it, and just having the opportunity to get closer to and touch something that they wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think I touched a little bit earlier when we talked about the SRX series and having the Cup stars come down and racing that, and the fans getting to come and watch their favorite drivers and whatnot. Going back to the prelude itself, where it was just NASCAR drivers and stuff. I always thought maybe the All Star race or something could be used as put these guys in a different car or something like that and race something different than just their cup cars or something in a different format or things like that. I thought that'd be interesting. Obviously, if NASCAR's trying to save the team's money and stuff, that might be something hard to do. I don't know how hard it might be pretty difficult to kind of set that up, but definitely should. I wish more drivers expanded out and raced more things. Um,
Yeah.
that, but yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I think that that's neat, especially to see them competing in something where they're competing against each other, like the Prelude to the Dream was. Like these guys are racing against one another in um in the same car on the same racetrack, but something that's totally different from the Cup Series. It just I wish that could be a thing more often. I also think that team orders need to be outlawed entirely. Like even at restrictor plate tracks, even at Daytona and Talladega and Atlanta. Like if you find each other and you want to work with each other, great. But I don't think that it should be get the Chevys to the bottom and those guys are going to race the bottom and they're going to take care of it. Forget about that. I don't care about any of that. Just let him go race. If Carson Hocevar wants to push the 20 car Christopher Bell instead of the 5 of Kyle Larson, who cares? Let him go race. He's trying to win the race for himself. And that's what I want to see. I don't want to see this team order stuff and the whole info sharing thing too, especially during a race. Dumb. Don't want to see it. I don't you shouldn't be able to know what setup is in another guy's race car unless he's willing to share it with you, unless he's willing to tell you. You shouldn't be able to see, what his air pressures are. You shouldn't be able to see what any of that. That shouldn't be a thing. What's his fuel strategy? Doesn't matter. Run your race. Do your thing and forget about what somebody else is trying to do. I think that worrying about what other people do just in life in general is a bad thing, but on the racetrack is just it's dumb. I don't want to see anything like that at all. Get rid of that.
Yeah, definitely the data and stuff these cars collect that gets shared to all the teams throughout the garage, not just staying within a certain manufacturer or even or a team as a whole. I think that needs to be, and even I wish these teams didn't have like the SMT data and stuff. I wish they just went out, drove their cars, and based their cars on what they feel, their setups on what they feel, and not base it off of lines and graphs and things like that. I think that'd be better for the sport.
That's 1,000% right. That one needs to be preached on. Like you just said, trying to drive a race car based on lines and graphs. Shut up. Like, let me see you drive this based on what you feel in the seat of your pants. That's all I care about. I want to see who's the best at it from head to toe, feeling what's underneath of them, and not what the green and blue lines show. This next thing I have on here, we're going to skip over it. We're going to eliminate it altogether because I have on here any caution under 20 laps go to an automatic red flag. I had that take at one point. I'm backing off that entirely. I don't want to see that. Just if you went with my new overtime rule with the 5 laps, I don't care about that at all. I'd rather see you run a few caution laps and try to get the race restarted with even with 3 to go rather than red flag it because they do a terrible job at stopping races and then restarting them. So I'm off of that idea altogether. I think that the sport needs a title sponsor, something that fans can relate to. I don't know what that would be. I don't even know what, like, because NASCAR fans are such a diverse group of people now. It's not like they used to be. Like, you can't, you, you could have back in the day called it the NASCAR Mac Tools Series, and everybody would have been like, yeah. But the NASCAR Budweiser Cup Series, and they all would have been, yeah. But you're not going to get that now. Uh, I don't know what the answer would be as far as what company it would be. A product that everyone can relate to. I guess maybe the NASCAR Apple Cup Series is something that everybody would probably jump on board with. Uh, I don't know what it would be, but I would like to see the sport have some sort of title sponsor. The NASCAR Winston Cup Series, the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series, whatever it is. Monster Energy Cup Series, I wasn't a big fan of that one, but uh, just something that people can go. I know what that sponsor is. When I say the NASCAR blank Cup Series, I know what that thing is, and I'm gonna buy that thing, because they sponsor the sport that I care about. I think that would do them some good. I also think that the money that they gain from that would be beneficial in putting the money in NASCAR's pocket that they want in their pocket to do the things that they do, and then allow them to diversify the sharing of some of this other sponsor money that they get, um, rather than keep it all for themselves. I don't like guys talking bad about Goodyear, but drivers complaining about the car or the track or NASCAR, um, I do like that. Like if Goodyear brought a tire that wasn't working well that week, okay, you could maybe say, I guess, but the bottom line is, I remember Tony Stewart saying horrible things about Goodyear getting out of the car, and everybody was like, oh, you can't say that. Goodyear's trying, and then we got into the debacle that we had before to where the tires didn't wear at all. I think everybody needs to collectively go, Goodyear's trying, give them all the props that they can give them. Um, sure, I'd like to see even more improvement made with the tires, but Goodyear's done a phenomenal job giving us a good racing tire. So I'm going to back off the complaining of them. But to say that, this car is terrible, or my car was terrible today, we couldn't get the handle right on it, or this track, the way that they've got it designed is just awful, or NASCAR's rule package here stinks. Whatever the case is like that, I think you should be able to see that, to say that, and have zero repercussions for it, other than like maybe somebody in your own team is not happy with you. But as far as Jim France calling you to say, "Hey, you talk bad about my sport," I don't care about that. That shouldn't ever be a thing.
Um, that kind of came up in today's trial. They were talking about some of the stuff Denny Hamlin said about the next gen car and stuff and whatnot, and how he praised it and said it would be good for the teams out in public, but he hated it in private and stuff like that. And Denny said at that point, he goes, "Well, you guys give us talking points to talk good about the sport. Anytime we say anything bad, we get called to the holler." And I saw a post on Twitter that some woman said she was 19, intern or something, and all she said was something about she was having trouble understanding the All Star format, and she was like a person of the media. And evidently, within a couple hours later, NASCAR had a emailed her saying that she needed not to say that things, and they were going to sue her or make her take back those things she said and stuff like that. And it's just NASCAR is putting uh, forcing all these teams to say what they want to say. It just feels so much like a dictatorship. Say what you want us, or you say what we want you to say, and if you don't, you're gonna get penalized for it or this and that. And it just kind of it's just back to the trial we started at the beginning of the show or whatever. It's just kind of sometimes wanting to see the downfall of NASCAR.
Yeah, yeah, because of stuff like that, that's terrible. Do you think that I mean, you know who Mamba Smith is?
Yeah.
Do you think that he says some of the stuff that he does because they have like incentivized him to say that, or do you think those are his real opinions?
I really don't know. I don't know him that well. I just kind of see what happens on Twitter, but he really seems to be really pushing the NASCAR narrative, and I just wonder if that's where he's getting his paycheck from.
Yeah, I feel like him, Danielle Trotta, some of these other people, the Sirius XM people, is like, how could you possibly watch this sport and have the opinion that you have? Like you are obviously earning a paycheck from somewhere. to say some of this stuff or to defend this because nobody has the opinion that you have. Like, oh, well, NASCAR fans are just a bunch of whiners. Well, NASCAR fans are whiners, yes. But at the same point, they've got a lot to whine about. And that's why we're doing this whole episode is because there are problems with the sport. And you can't just go, it's not that bad. It's all peaches and rainbows. We have some serious problems, chief amongst them being the racing itself. And I don't think that sitting around going, this is fine. It's that meme with the dog sitting around with the flames around him. Like I don't think that's a good thing to just sit there and be like, yeah, this is okay. You're watching ratings go down. You're watching people not care about it. It's just speaking of the trial itself. I have a friend that, I talk a lot of sports with, and I asked him months ago. I said, "Did you hear that Michael Jordan's NASCAR team is suing NASCAR?" And he said, "No." And there was no follow-up question. It wasn't what about, just didn't care. And you would think that even a sports fan, if they found out that Michael Jordan, the greatest NBA basketball player of all time, was in a lawsuit with NASCAR, you'd at least have some questions. Why is he suing another major sports organ? But he didn't care. And that's not his fault. It's what is there to care about? Like, it's not interesting. The only reason we're here is because we've been here for 20 years and we're hooked on it. It's like a drug. We can't quit it. It's, we like racing. And unfortunately, we haven't seen a lot of good racing in a while. And that's what's frustrating. I think that drivers need to show more personality as a whole. I think that sponsors need to get out of the way of the driver, and I think that sponsors need to relate to their driver. Sponsor somebody that you like, and don't try to make them fit your brand. Try to find, if you're going to sponsor somebody in NASCAR, try to find somebody that already relates to your brand, not get them to be your ambassador. It's do you have a sponsor that comes to mind that, like, if you were a driver, this is who I'd want for a sponsor?
Um, I don't have nothing particular in mind. I mean, I would think I would fit well with like the Cabela's and stuff like RCR and what Noah Gragson does he have? He had some outdoor like timber camo and things like that. I mean, obviously I'm wearing camo and stuff and outdoorsman. It'd probably be that type of sponsor that I feel like I would relate to, but anything more on a personal level or something, I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, I think that
It's Bass Pro
Bass Pro
Shops,
Shops
not
would be
Cabela's, but yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I think they would be a phenomenal sponsor, at least from what I've heard about Johnny Morris, because he lets it like Noah Gregson does not relate to Bass Pro Shops, but he got into what they did because of the type of sponsor that they were. And I think that more companies could benefit from that approach. Uh, yeah, I think that myself and Bass Pro Shops would go together really well. Um, but I don't think that me and Ally Bank would. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's not a sponsor that I'm going to relate to. Um, and I don't think I could race at Hendrick Motorsports anyways because those guys just sequester their drivers so much that you'd never have any idea what anybody's personality was like because they're not allowed to show it there. That team in itself is its own cult. So that's something that I wouldn't even want to be a part of. But uh, yeah, I think that a sponsor like Bass Pro Shops is great, and I think we need more sponsors like that in the sport, allowing drivers to be who they are. Just get out of the driver's way. If I can relate to the guy, I'm gonna be more interested in your product.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I'd also like to see Cup drivers compete in lower series without a regulation. Um, I'm okay with them not being able to earn points, but I don't want to see Cup teams in the lower series. They can be affiliated with other teams like Junior Motorsports and Hendrick, um, or whoever, but I don't want to see Team Penske or uh, Hendrick Motorsports themselves or JGR in the lower series. Like, bring back the Kyle Busch Motorsports, the Kevin Harvick Incorporateds, the teams like that, to where they're bringing guys up through these lower series. That, like I said, they can be affiliated with Cup teams, but I don't want to see Cup teams putting cars in the lower series, but allow their drivers to race in there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I don't know if it really makes much of a difference because I just feel like Junior Motorsports is Hendrick Motorsports, but um, I, I I I don't know how you would change that. I mean, I feel like you'd lose a lot of teams by like forcing that out, but I don't know.
I actually think the opposite. I think you'd have more teams involved. I think that you would prop up like a Ryan Sieg Racing or some of these other lower tier teams by getting them involved like that.
Yeah, I just although I think almost like the truck series, the Toyota camp would like pulls up those teams, and I feel like you'd get whoever would replace JGR would just be a Toyota camp that would probably hold up those drivers, and uh, to me, I don't think it'll make that big of a difference.
Well, that kind of brings me to my next point, which is also like super. I think this is a big point. This is something that I would definitely um, make a priority if I were running NASCAR, is that manufacturers need to be more involved. All three series. Like, I don't think Ford has anybody in the Xfinity series that they're a key partner with. And I don't think that they have anybody in trucks really, especially if Thor Sport goes away from Ford. I don't know if that's really if I've heard that rumor at one point. I don't know if that's happening or not. Um, but so like some of these guys that are, I, I just think you need more manufacturer involvement in those particular series, in all three series. Um, I think that there should be a design that the manufacturers themselves should design the car or the truck or whatever, the body and the engine exclusively, and let the teams build the chassis. So this is the body for, the Mustang or for the Camaro or whatever car they're going to race now, and it's got to fit a template. The template's approved by NASCAR. That's all been submitted. The manufacturer handles that, and then the team can build the chassis in whatever way that they want. But that body's got to go over that chassis. It can't be skewed off to the side like we've seen in the past. It can't be all twisted up. It's got to fit a template that is approved, that's been designed and approved by the manufacturers, approved by NASCAR, and everybody's on the same page as far as that goes. But the manufacturers themselves need to have an investment in all of the cars that are on the racetrack. And I would like to see there be some sort of random issue, kind of like there is with the motors, to where you don't know what car is getting what information. Like, I don't want to see key partners. If you decide to sign up with a Toyota team or a Ford team or a Chevy team, I want to see those guys give all of their drivers an equal amount of support in some way. And I think that's the only way you could do it is if they got the body and the motor from that manufacturer and they didn't know what team it was going to. Like they're not going to give Joe Gibbs Racing extra support and then leave out Legacy Motor Club or something like that. I want to see all of them get an equal, healthy amount of information and uh, uh, support, whatever, from the manufacturer. And I'd like to see that be incentivized to where it's a big deal for Ford Motor Company if they win the NASCAR Cup race on Sunday. You know what I mean? I want to see there be some sort of significant kickback from that. Um, how I don't know what that looks like. I'm not, making the business model here, but I'd like to see something be beneficial to the. There's got to be an incentive for the manufacturers to be involved, and there's got to be an incentive for a team to go, I want to race with this manufacturer because they're building the best stuff right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I believe as it is right now, I think the manufacturers have the big part and definitely the body. When it comes to Cup Series, obviously the chassis is all NASCAR mandated and single source parts, so every single chassis is the same out there. But um,
I
I
don't like
def
that.
yeah, I don't either. But I don't have a problem with the engine being built by like Hendrick Motorsports or RCR. Kind of have teams competing against each other with their engines themselves. I don't have a problem with that. But um,
But see, I don't like that. I don't want to see a Hendrick engine going against um, what's another Chevy team? Um,
RCR.
yeah, an RCR engine. I want to see those guys have Chevrolet motors in their cars. It's just about who can bring the best chassis and setup to the racetrack and who can drive it better.
Okay. Um, yeah, I could go either way with that one. I mean, that's almost what the truck series is. All the engines are the same in the truck series. At this point, they're all Chevys, period, no matter what the manufacturer is. But um,
Yeah, but see,
But
that's what I don't want is them to all be the same motor.
yeah, okay. Each manufacturer has their own engine and whatnot. Okay,
Correct.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I could go either way with that.
Okay. Um, this next thing we're gonna skip because it's related to points. We'll save that for a different show. Um, this is something that I think was brought up on the teardown to not see other guys from other teams working on another guy's car. So like, Hendrick has four teams, so you don't see the Ally guys working on the HendrickCars.com car. Whatever guys you bring to the racetrack, whatever guys are wearing your car's uniform, your sponsor's name, you work on that car. That's it. You could have, if I said like the the manufacturers are more involved. If, Kyle Larson's in the garage and he needs something done to his car, I'm okay with it if the team Chevy guys are over there, looking at whatever the problem is, if it's a body issue, if it's a motor issue, whatever the case is. But outside of that, keep your hands off the car. That is for the five team to work on, not for the five and the 48. It's the five team's cars. It's their problem.
Yeah, I listened to that episode, and that was one of the things I never thought about before. But that definitely is a big advantage for a bigger team that a smaller team wouldn't have. Although I don't know if if there is some relationship between like Hendrick and Spire, whether a Hendrick team would help Spire or not, I'm not sure. But um, it should be just team on team versus team, not the whole organization.
Yeah, for sure. And then the last thing that I have is bring back testing. At the racetracks we race at, I want to see that back again. Like, let these guys, if this whole thing worked together the way that I said, if they build a brand new chassis, they want to see what it's like on the racetrack. They've got their Chevrolet body, they've got their Chevrolet motor, and they're going to Bristol, and they want to see how this car handles for the Bristol night race that's coming up. Let them do it. I think this is dumb that they can't test. I get that it's a financial thing. I understand that that's why they banned it before. Let them do it. Make the manufacturers pay for it. However it works, but let them do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll probably give more advantage to the bigger teams again with most money, but I'm really don't have much of an opinion on it.
Yeah, maybe there should be a testing budget that's like allocated to each teams. I don't know how it works, but I want to see guys be able to go to the racetrack and test again. What else you got as far as problems? That's the end of my list.
Yeah. um, the main problems I had was just the racing product, and the car itself was kind of the thing I wanted to change the most in the point system. But to me, if you put a good race on a racetrack, I'm going to be watching every week. And I mean, I watch it every week anyways, but I'll have more enjoyable time with better cars and better point system and things like that. But those are my biggest issues.
Yeah. Well, glad to see that we're all on the same page then, because I agree with you there that that is like to see manufacturers more involved, but would definitely like to see just a better racing product as a whole. And my biggest issue is with the car, and then with the France family.
Yeah.
Those are my takeaways. So I'm interested to see how the trial turns out this week. Definitely going to be listening to the teardown. If you're trying to follow the trial, listen to the teardown. They do a great job with that. I usually can't stand Jordan Bianchi, but he's both he and Jeff are doing a great job covering this. Follow Matt Weaver on Twitter as well. I think that him and Bob Pockris are doing a great job reporting on it in uh, Twitter in that space. And as far as podcasts go, the Teardown is doing a great job covering it so far. I'm looking forward to seeing how everything played out today. I know that they went live earlier tonight, so I'll probably listen to that podcast at work tomorrow. And hopefully, by the time they get this all wrapped up, we'll be back on here talking about the outcome and if we're ever going to watch NASCAR again, or if we're gonna, or if we're gonna be hopeful for the future, or disappointed, or whatever the case is. But until then, I appreciate everybody watching, listening, and paying attention to us. Make sure that you check out our personal social medias. The link's going to be in the description, and just check back here for the latest updates from the garage area.